Hello everybody, this is Astro Eleanor. I'm a professional astrologer and a witch, and in today's video we are going to talk about your chart ruler, which is super important in your birth chart. And we're also going to explore in a more metaphorical sense the planet that you come from based on your chart ruler, because you embody those archetypal forces, that pure archetypal energy of the planet that rules you. If you would like to support the channel and me as an astrologer, join my Patreon. You will also gain access to exclusive and top tier astro content. I actually have these two ongoing series that I have been doing really freaking well. One is about Chiron and how to heal yourself through your Chiron placement, the core wounds that your Chiron placement represents, the gifts that you can unlock using it, and how to heal yourself. And I also have another series about your Venus sign and how you can improve your magnetism, how you can become more attractive, and how to improve your wardrobe and your style and your makeup based on your Venus sign. So if you're interested in those series and other astro content, go to my Patreon. I will leave the link in the description below. You can also find me on social media at Astro Eleanor. You can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Tumblr, on Twitter, anything that you can think of. I'm probably on there. I will also leave the timestamps for each planet and each rising sign in the comment below so that you can directly jump to your section. Okay, so let's talk about the chart ruler. The chart ruler is the planet that rules your rising sign, and your rising sign is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. It basically represents yourself, your identity, how you project yourself into the world. And the planet ruling your rising sign becomes your chart ruler, so it holds this specific significance in your chart. And the planet that rules you, aka your chart ruler, has a huge impact on your personality and who you are, as well as your identity. It also can influence your physical appearance and kind of the overall themes that you will experience all throughout your life. This is why it's so freaking important, and I always make sure to focus so much on it during my readings. And in a more symbolic sense, this is the planet that rules you. You take on its characteristics. You experience life through the lens of that planet. So it's sort of like you come from that planet, right? My hair is getting in my eyes. Like when you have bangs and you have curly hair, it's just not a good mix. Oh my God. So there are a few key reasons that actually show why the chart ruler has such a huge significance in your birth chart, and also why it governs the entire chart. So first and foremost, the chart ruler rules over your first house of identity and physical body. If you were to picture your birth chart as a map, you would find yourself by looking at your first house and your chart ruler. And the first house is the entry point to the chart. The ascendant is actually set for the first breath that you take here on planet Earth. So the planet that rules your first house kind of sets the tone for everything else going on in your chart, because this is the planet that is most directly connected to your outward self and your innermost self. And the chart ruler also shapes your life mission and your purpose. And this is why I really want to talk about it, because this shit is not superficial. It really goes deep, and it's such an influential point in the chart. I cannot stress it enough. Your chart ruler shapes your life mission and the themes, the main themes that you will experience all throughout your life, and the characteristics that are associated with the planet that rules you set the tone for your life path. And also because it governs your identity, the chart ruler is sort of like that point in the chart that you can look at in order to see more about your life's mission and the qualities that you are meant to embody. Now let me clear things up, because for this video we're just gonna use the traditional planets. I'm gonna use the sun and the moon, the two luminaries, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. These are the 7 traditional planets that I'm gonna be using, and that is it. Now you may be wondering why I'm not using the outer planets, and there's a very simple reason as why I'm not doing that. Mainly because outer planets have longer orbital periods. So this means that they change signs less frequently compared to the 7 traditional planets. And I'm gonna put a chart right here so that you can see the comparison in real time. I want you to think of Pluto, how Pluto takes around 248 years to complete its orbit, to go through all of the 12 signs. That's freaking crazy. So this makes the outer planets less suitable as chart rulers because they take so long to move through one sign compared to the other planets, which are more personal. And this is also why those planets are called personal, except for Jupiter and Saturn, which are known as social planets. And the outer planets as a whole have a more generational and societal influence, and their position usually affects an entire generation. Unless you have outer planets in your first house, conjunct your ascendant, aspecting your moon or your sun or your chart ruler, you're not gonna feel their effects super strongly as far as your identity, right? You may feel their effects in one area of your life, which is represented by the house that they're in. But if these planets are making no contact to your personal planets, then you may not feel them as much. And the influence of outer planets is sometimes more subtle and more geared towards the long term in a natal chart. They usually influence significant life events or times of crisis and transition, things that are unexpected. So basically, in my opinion, that's my opinion! I said what I said. I don't want to use them as chart rulers. So I hope you enjoyed that explanation, and we are now gonna get started. For each planet, I'm gonna break down your life's mission, your core traits, the main lessons that you came here to learn, your inclinations, and a little bit about your main characteristics that you may identify with. Let's start from the sun. If your chart ruler is the sun, your life mission may revolve around the themes of self-expression, influencing others, and inspiring other people. It's about embracing and celebrating your individuality and shining your own light, just like the sun does. And the theme of leadership is going to be central in your life. You're here to share your light, your creativity, just doing the things that are close to your heart, because the sun also rules the heart center. You're on a journey of continuous self-discovery, learning about yourself, your identity, quite obviously because that's what the sun represents. It's a journey towards becoming your most confident, self-assured self. But most importantly, learning how to express yourself in an authentic way. You may also find a lot of fulfillment in roles that put you in a position of power or in a position to motivate and inspire other people. Now, what are the life lessons that you are meant to learn with the sun as your chart ruler? So first of all, having the sun as your chart ruler is really about balancing humility with praise, balancing your self-confidence with being humble and not letting your successes and your achievements get to your head. So while you're taking the lead, you have to make sure that you're a good leader by taking other people's needs and concerns into consideration. Another life lesson that you may be here to learn has a lot to do with nurturing your creative side and embracing your creativity, creating this safe space for you to create and express yourself authentically, whether it be through dancing, through writing, filming, singing, making music. Whatever your talent is, make a safe space for yourself and nurture it. It doesn't really matter if you don't make any money from it it's for you. The third life lesson that you may be here to learn could be about healthy leadership. So learning how to lead in a constructive way, not letting arrogance get in the way of things. Being a leader that empowers people instead of an authoritarian leader. And the way that you lead should lift other people up and inspire them. And something else that you may be here to learn with the sun as your chart ruler could be embracing recognition and success, becoming comfortable with being seen by large groups of people or being seen one-on-one on an intimate level. When you embrace who you are, you're not going to be afraid, for the most part, of judgment. You're not going to be afraid of being seen. So that's sort of what you are learning how to be perceived, learning how to be okay with being perceived and being recognized and receiving your flowers and receiving the praise that you deserve. If you come from the sun, these are your core traits that you may embody or that you are meant to grow into. Okay, so first of all, I think it's quite obvious that you're meant to grow into your confidence and into your self-assuredness. Being able to tackle life's challenges, facing stuff with your chest. You're also likely to be somebody very creative, somebody who leans into their creativity, their art, their imagination, their ideas. You may also be quite charismatic. People may be drawn to you and flock to you very, very easily because you're like a light to a moth, attracting people towards you because you naturally shine. You could literally enter a room and stand in the corner of that room and people are gonna look at you because you have that Leo energy. You could also come across as somebody who is very warm and generous, somebody who gives from the heart. Once again, the sun rules over the heart. You're like this natural source of positivity. This is also why you have to be careful with people taking advantage of you and trying to dim your light. You may also be a very ambitious person. The sun is a planet that rules our successes. So you're likely somebody who has a lot of drive to become successful, to achieve power, to be at the freaking top. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're kind of meant to be there. And you're also meant to grow into, or you may already have, a strong sense of self. This unshakable knowing of who you are, of your identity, and how it's ever changing. You're always getting to know yourself. And this is something that I think about a lot, how people always think about, I don't know who I am, I don't know what to do with my life, I don't know who I am. Are you taking the time to get to know yourself, and are you aware of the fact that your needs, your interests, who you are can change all the time? You're always transforming with your identity. Sometimes it's very volatile. Of course, you're gonna have certain core traits that maybe they're not gonna change. But if you take the time to engage in different activities and see what you like and what you don't like, and engage with people one-on-one, when you engage with others, that is how you get to know yourself best, because you see your blind spots. You're always changing, so you're sort of like always getting to know yourself all throughout your life. You're always changing in one way or the other. You're always evolving. You're always getting to know yourself. So sometimes you're gonna get a grip of who you are. Sometimes you're gonna be like, I'm freaking unrecognizable. Even January you compared to December you, those are two completely different people. I don't know if it's just my opinion or if that's how it actually is. This is what I believe at the moment. I might change my mind, but at the moment this is what I believe in, and this is my pep talk for you Leo risings. If you come from the sun, so the sun is your chart ruler, you have to keep in mind that this luminary is at the center of our solar system, and the sun is our source of light and energy. It also can represent the archetype of the father and authority as a whole. So another life mission and theme is healing your relationship with the father figure, but also authority, creating a healthier perception with authority so that you can also tap into your inner authority and live your life in a more disciplined and authentic way. This can also mean that you're meant to become a role model, whether it be on a bigger scale or on a smaller scale. You're meant to shine your light and guide. Next is Cancer rising. So if you come from the moon and the moon is your chart ruler, these are the life themes, the inclinations, the archetypal energies that you embody. You have to keep in mind that the moon has this inherently cyclical nature, and that's because of the many phases that it goes through all throughout the month. The moon is connected to the movement of tides and water. It's connected to messages and travel as well. In traditional astrology, it actually has a lot of similar significations to Mercury because these are the two fastest moving planets out of the 7 traditional planets. So with the moon as your chart ruler, your life mission is closely linked to emotional growth, emotional resilience, emotional maturation. You're meant to develop a deep understanding of your feelings and of those of other people. You're here to create and foster these intimate, close, emotional connections, both with yourself and others. The moon is also mostly about comfort. As a whole, you're always gonna want to strive for that stability, for that feeling of familiarity and comfort in your life, and you're meant to have that sanctuary that you can come to for comfort and for security, creating that sense of belonging, knowing that you belong somewhere. And this also applies to the people that you really care about, to family members or people that you deem as your family, even if they're not your blood family. So you're kind of meant to go through the whole spectrum of human emotions and understand them deeply, the significance of each emotion and its implications, where you feel those emotions in your body, if it manifests as a tightness in your chest or in your throat, or happiness spreading all over your body. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to become an emotion expert, but having a grasp over what you're feeling and helping other people work through the ebbs and flows of emotions. You're also meant to tap into your intuition and to trust your gut, leaning into those psychic abilities and those insights that come from your subconscious mind. Since the moon is related to women as a whole, the mother figure, the family, there could be a theme here that revolves around healing the mother wound or your relationship with your mother, becoming a mother yourself if that's what you desire, and healing generational trauma and breaking generational curses that come from the family line, so from your bloodline. This could also mean literally creating a family of your own, once again if that's what you want, or creating your own definition of family and security. It all comes down to security really, and family is one of those possible manifestations. Because the moon has a cyclical nature, another thing that you may be dealing with as a life theme, as part of your life mission, has a lot to do with learning about the cycles of life and the cyclical nature of time, learning how to adapt and find comfort in different phases of your life. Just like the moon goes through its phases, you also kind of go through all of those phases. Being ruled by the moon, you really have to pay attention to the moon phase that you were born under. So if you were born under a new moon, full moon, eclipse, waxing moon, waning moon, and if you want me to, I can make a video about what that means specifically for each person in their birth chart. I think that would be really cool, and even looking into the compatibility of people based on the moon phase that they were born under. You guys let me know if you want that in the comments down below. A lot of learning for you revolves around understanding how to move and navigate through the ebbs and flow of life, learning how to enter a flow state even in the little activities that you do every day. Even if you're reading or you're cooking, you're just entering this flow state. You are being present. Some of the life lessons that you came here to learn could revolve around nurturing and learning how to nurture yourself, how to pour into your own cup, and how to show up for other people as well. Learning how to navigate the highs and lows of emotions, and learning how to tap into that intuitive awareness and letting your intuition guide you through life. I think for people that are ruled by the moon, people who come from the moon, you guys really need to meditate and to tap into your intuition, into any prophetic dreams that you get, really, because your subconscious mind is really active. Leading with your intuition wouldn't be necessarily bad. It would actually be something that benefits you. Compare that to somebody who's ruled by Mercury. Maybe they should be leading with logic. Now, just because you're leading with intuition doesn't necessarily mean that you have to completely disregard logic, but usually prioritize your intuition and also what you feel in your body, in your physical body, especially in your stomach, which is the area of the body ruled by Cancer and by the moon. You're usually going to feel things in your stomach or in your chest, and it makes sense for these parts of the body to be ruled by the moon and Cancer, because these are the parts of your body that you use to nurture a child into life. I think that's pretty interesting. I love how everything connects with astrology. Another great thing with the moon is empathy. Leaning into your empathy, but also knowing how to set good boundaries, learning how not to let people take advantage of your empathy. As far as your core traits, these may be traits that you already grew into, that you already possess, or that you need to grow into. So first of all, being ruled by the moon right off the bat, you have this comforting presence that people are drawn to. They know that you provide that sense of safety that they may be looking for. This can cause them to kind of like open up to you and tell you their whole life story and secrets that you have no business knowing. A lot of the times that happens with Cancers because you have that motherly energy, that nurturing, caring energy. I cannot stress it enough. Like, you have to set good boundaries and be like, no, I don't want to hear about this. Like, maybe don't be this harsh, but you get my point. As somebody that's ruled by the moon, you may also find a lot of fulfillment in taking care of other people, looking after other people, especially if you have a partner or a friend or a parent. You just want to take care of them. Like, you just want to baby them. If somebody is going through something, you literally pour life back into them. It's freaking crazy. I've seen it happen time and time again with people who have prominent Cancer placements in their chart. It's a gift. And it's also a gift not many people possess. I think it's quite obvious, but you may have a very strong intuition when you say something's gonna happen. If you think somebody's up to something or you smell something fishy, you're usually right. Because the moon is one of the fastest moving planets, it's a luminary, but we're just gonna call it a planet for now. You may also have a very adaptable and changeable nature, always feeling something different. You're able to be flexible. Like, you have that flexibility, that adaptability to you that doesn't make you rigid. You can cope with life's challenges, with issues, whatever is going on, a new environment, new people, you can easily adapt. But this can also make you moody. Like I said, you have a changeable nature, and it's important for you to ground yourself and to tap into Mother Earth's energies, to ground yourself to the present moment, to the earth. There are tons of grounding meditations on YouTube that you can listen to for free. I highly recommend it if you are a Cancer rising. It's really gonna change the game for you if you do it daily. It's like a daily habit to ground your emotions and help yourself feel them in your body and not let the emotions overpower you and rule over you until you can gain control over them. Of course, you also need to learn different coping mechanisms, but on a spiritual level, grounding is something that you can implement. There's also a lot of emotional depth that you possess because you feel things very freaking deeply, which is a gift. Not a lot of people can feel as deeply as you do. You can read the energy of a room, you can pick up on people's intentions. It's a freaking gift. It can protect you. I don't know how much I need to hype this up, but it's really good. Okay, now if you're ruled by Mercury, you come from Mercury. Mercury is your ruling planet. One of your main life lessons here is to learn how to communicate, learn how to convey your ideas. One of your main goals as a soul is literally acquiring new information and then putting it into practice. You're meant to deliver a message. Mercury is the messenger, so maybe there is an idea that you're meant to bring to the collective, a message that you need to share with the collective. There's just something that you need to communicate on a larger scale or on a smaller scale. You're sort of here to facilitate the exchange of ideas and different notions and knowledge. And Mercury can also serve as a bridge between different realms. So one of your life missions could also revolve around being a bridge between different people, bringing people together and helping them understand one another, or you may need to grow into it, but it's really about conveying very complex ideas and concepts in a simple way so that they can be digested easily by an audience or somebody in front of you, a friend. A significant lesson that you are meant to learn as somebody that comes from Mercury, who is Mercury ruled, is effective communication, clear communication, the gift of eloquence, of words, the written word and the spoken word. There's nothing more beautiful than that. Mercury is also one of the fastest moving planets out of the 7 traditional planets, so there's an element of adaptability and being changeable with Mercury. So flexibility and versatility are things that you are meant to learn and incorporate in your daily life. Being able to adapt to different situations and think on your feet and use your logic. And speaking of logic, because Mercury rules over the rational mind and the mind as a whole, your thinking patterns, your thoughts, you are meant to lead in life with logic, as opposed to somebody that's ruled by the moon who's meant to lead with their intuition and with their heart. You are meant to lead with your logic. This doesn't mean that you should disregard your intuition, because Mercury is actually a very witchy, magical, intuitive planet, but priorities, set your priorities straight. Another life lesson for you is to not be too set in stone with the things that you learn and the knowledge that you acquire. So making sure that you're keeping an open mind, that you're listening to different perspectives, that you're not getting caught up in one way of thinking, one belief system. You're opening yourself up to a wide array of ideas. With Mercury, something that gets overlooked is observing, because you need to observe and sit back in order to take in information, in order to learn, which is your life mission, like literally learning and studying. When you sit back, it can actually be quite difficult for you, because Mercury, like I said, one of the fastest moving planets, it's gonna be restless. It's gonna make you restless. It's gonna make your mind be filled with racing thoughts and always very freaking active with this vibrant inner dialogue. It's not always easy to sit back and observe. So you need to tap into meditation and possibly even mindfulness techniques, different kind of things to help yourself step into the present moment and observe what's going on around you. I was talking about being a bridge for different people and how Mercury is a bridge for different realms. So with Mercury here being your chart ruler, I think a lot of it could have to do with mediating between different people, being able to see those different perspectives and come to a conclusion, right? Or different conclusions, adding nuance to a conversation or to something that's going on in society, in your family. When it comes to your core traits as a Mercury ruled person, as somebody who comes from Mercury, you may be a person who's really curious, who wants to learn everything. You may always be on Google, like looking up something, asking a question, looking for more, having that thirst thirst for knowledge. And also, let me add this, when I talk about your core traits, these may be things that you are meant to grow into or traits that you already possess. So like I was saying, you may be drawn to learning, expanding your mind, expanding your knowledge, and improving your communication skills. You may be a really good communicator, or you may be on the opposite side of the spectrum because you still need to learn how to communicate, how to convey your thoughts and your ideas in an efficient way. You may not be born an eloquent speaker, but you're meant to learn how to do that. The way that you communicate may also be very articulate, and there's this element of moving your hands a lot when you talk, or being restless and moving your legs when like you're waiting or you're talking. You're very like fast paced. Even in the way that you talk, you may be very fast paced. There's an element of adaptability and versatility to you being ruled by Mercury. You sort of like invented versatility, okay? Mercury is actually a planet that is easily influenced by any other planet that makes a contact with it. Mercury absorbs the energy and the archetypal forces of any planets influencing it. So being ruled by Mercury, you can easily shift between different roles, and you can pull off different styles, different makeup looks, and you can kind of like get into whatever you want because you're like this chameleon that adapts to different circumstances. You may also have a very analytical mind. You may tend to lead with your logic. You may tend to analyze things from different perspectives, and sometimes this can lead to overthinking and over-analyzing things. You're always in your head, like with a new idea, something new going on. Something that's also important for you is networking and engaging with other people, making sure that you're fostering different connections so that you can share your ideas, share what you're thinking, give your contribution, and share the things that you have learned. Problem solving could also be a skill that you're really, really good at, like multitasking as well. That's also associated with Mercury. And problem solving especially is a lifesaver. It's either something that you're developing or that you have already grown into, mostly because with your fast paced and quick thinking mind, you can come up with different solutions and see the pitfalls in every scenario. Mercury is the messenger. It's associated with traveling. Another thing that can help you expand your awareness and just grow more into yourself is literally traveling, especially with your car. If you can, Mercury rules over transportation, especially cars and buses, but traveling as a whole could really be good for you. Now, if you come from Venus, if Venus is your chart ruler, these are your core traits, your life mission, the life lessons that you are meant to learn. Venus as a planet represents the principle of enjoyment, desire, union, harmony, balance, and justice. So your purpose is about cultivating beauty, fostering harmony. But here's the kicker: in order to reach balance and harmony, you first have to go through turmoil in order to get there. The life of a Venusian person is not always easy because you have to learn how to bring things into balance, how to reach compromise, and it's not easy. You're also meant to learn about yourself through relationships, through the unions that you enter, through the social contracts that you have with other people. You know, when you have a friendship, when you enter a relationship, especially a marriage, something like that, you literally have a contract with that person. That's also why Saturn exalts in Libra. It's because there's a sort of commitment that you have to put into relationships. Commitment, Saturn, relationships, Libra. Like, you have to show up as a mature person. Otherwise, any sort of relationship is not going to be for the long term. You're also here to just be a muse or an artist. With Taurus, which is a feminine sign, it has more of a receiving energy. You're in the muse sort of thing. Whereas with Libra, it's a masculine sign, so it's more about being the artist, having that output of art. But you know, this doesn't necessarily have to apply. You can be both. This is just my observation. You're here to learn about the value of love, unconditional love. You're here to learn the value of justice as well. Standing up for yourself and standing up for other people, bringing things into balance. That's also what it means. When there's something unjust, you step in. So I feel like a lot of the times for people who are Venusian, who are ruled by Venus, there's something in their life, there's some sort of event or multiple events that prompt them to really stand up for themselves and balance out the scales. And like I was saying, relationships take the forefront for you. And this doesn't mean just romantic relationships. It's about learning the value of connection, of sharing with others, being connected to other people and what that feels like. And the more you engage with others, the more knowledge you're gonna gain about yourself, because relationships for you serve as a mirror. Whatever is going on with you is gonna be reflected back to you through the other person, through the friendship, the romantic connection, the familial connection, whatever it may be. Venus is also the planet of art, so there's a lesson here about stepping into your creativity, embracing your artistic side, and creating a safe space for yourself to just create, to create beauty, to develop this keen eye for aesthetics. Because Venus is about anything beautiful, enjoyable, pleasurable. You are meant to develop your artistic talents too. This doesn't mean that you have to profit off of your artistic talents if that's not what you want to do, but it would definitely benefit you. And speaking of relationships, you're learning how to love. You're ruled by the planet of love, and you're also learning self-love. This is your chart ruler. This is you, the love that you have to pour into yourself. You're learning self-love in this lifetime. And you're also meant to understand the different relationship dynamics that can occur in different environments, and also learning how to generate abundance and how to become this magnet to attract things towards yourself. Everything that I'm going to mention right now for your core traits is either something that you already possess or that you are meant to grow into. So some of your core traits as a Venusian person are literally being diplomatic. You just know how to reach a compromise. You know how to listen to people, see all of their perspectives, and, reach common ground. You're also somebody who has a lot of love. You can pour that love into yourself, into other people, and other people just glow, or you glow when that love gets poured in. I'm telling you, Venus is a very magnetic planet. When you tap into your creative talents, when you learn about relationships, when you learn how to love yourself. I kind of want to make a video about loving yourself. I know this is an astrology channel, but I have so many ideas that I want to explore, and I feel like sticking to astrology sometimes is very restrictive for me. So if you want to see a video about self-love and how to actually love yourself, like the that you need to do on a daily basis to love yourself, because I've been through it, so I kind of know a thing or two about how to love yourself. So maybe we could talk about it. We could have a discussion. Let me know in the comments down below if that's a video that you would like to see. I would definitely love to make it. When it comes to you being Venus ruled and coming from Venus, a lot of the times this shows as effortless beauty. I'm not gonna lie, you guys are blessed. You're God's favorite. You just emanate beauty because you're ruled by the planet of beauty. You kind of ooze Aphrodite's qualities. Of course, that's on a metaphorical level, but think of Aphrodite, think of your potential. You may also be very good with people, or you're meant to learn how to be good with people, how to step into your social butterfly persona and socialize with others. That's helping you get to different places and be advantaged. Or once again, this is something that you can learn and tap into. As somebody who's Venus ruled, you may also deeply desire to connect with other people, and that's completely normal, especially on a more romantic level, or just to feel that love, whether it be platonic love or romantic love or brotherly love, sisterly love. Another huge thing for you is stepping into your sensuality, so embracing your sexuality and tapping into that sensual side of yourself. And you can do that by dressing yourself nicely, sleeping in silk sheets, doing things that make you feel good, like putting on perfume before you go to bed, putting on a lip balm, doing your skincare, making yourself feel luxurious and rich and Venusian. That's gonna help you step into your energy a little bit more and also tap into your senses and into your sensuality, which is super important. Your sensuality can also be about being present within your body and feeling comfortable within your body, how your body looks, and that's a huge lesson for Venusians. You came here to learn how to not be overly judgmental over your body. You're meant to love yourself. Self-love is a huge theme for Venusians, so it kind of makes sense these things go hand in hand, these different manifestations. Let's now talk about Mars. If you come from Mars, if Mars is your chart ruler, these are your core characteristics and the themes that you will experience in your life and the lessons that your soul came here to learn. As somebody who is ruled by Mars, let me introduce you to this planet if you haven't already been introduced to Mars. This is the red, bright, is it bright? It's not super bright, but it's red and it's the planet of war, fighting, of separation. One of the principles of Mars is cutting, separation. It's the planet of strategy. You need strategy to win a war. So with Mars as your chart ruler, your life mission, one of the themes that it revolves around is about being combative, standing up for yourself, showing resilience, preserving yourself. So self-preservation. And sometimes for people who come from Mars, that can manifest as having to stand up for yourself and fight people in order for them not to disrespect you. With being ruled by Mars and coming from Mars, you're sort of meant to become a pioneer or a trailblazer or some sort of leader, a fighter, or maybe it could also be about fighting for some sort of cause or fighting for yourself, standing up for yourself. Stepping into that warrior energy, being courageous and brave and unafraid, especially of other people's opinions and judgments, that's huge for Martian people and people who come from Mars. The thing about Mars is that it can be quite impulsive and cutthroat. So there's a level of impulsivity that you may need to control with Mars. So you may need to be more strategic and tap into that strategizing part of Mars instead of the impulsivity, because it can actually work against you most of the time. Your mission also involves taking initiative or being the first to do something, showing courage, embracing different challenges and difficulties with determination and with a fighting spirit. You're meant to assert your will and your desires and to command respect from others. You're sort of like meant to stay ahead and have other people follow you. This is very similar to the sun, and this is why the sun is exalted in Aries, because you're that trailblazer, you're that pioneer, you're leading. You're also meant to learn how to strategize and fight for what you believe in. Fighting for your beliefs, fighting for a cause, like I said before, that could also be one of your life themes. There's an emotion that you may need to master being ruled by Mars, and that is anger alongside impulsivity. Learning how to honor your anger and find healthy outlets for your anger, listening to your anger and what it's communicating to you. A huge life lesson for you is also learning how to balance your independence. Oh, and independence could also be a huge theme for you, becoming independent, stepping into your independence. Here's the thing, with independence, you may need to balance it out with cooperation and learning how to let other people have a say and give their contribution and share with with you. So this involves learning when it's appropriate to assert yourself and when it's time to take a step back and not be overpowering. So these are some of your core traits as somebody who comes from Mars, who is ruled by Mars. And these are things that you're either growing into, that you still need to develop, or that you already possess. So first and foremost, one of your main core traits is being a leader, being somebody who is not afraid to take that first step and be like, okay, I'm just gonna go out there, I'll see what all of this is about. You have this strong drive and determination to make things happen, to actualize things. You want to see things tangibly manifest. You may also be very determined to achieve your goals and have these large amounts of energy to actually go after what you want. And you're not going to stop until you get it. You may also be very assertive and sometimes combative in the way that you communicate, especially if people press the wrong buttons or if they look at you the wrong way. And don't tell me no, because I just know. You could also be very self-reliant and protective of yourself, but also protective of the people that you care about. You're the warrior after all. Like, you're gonna want to fight if something's wrong. And whether it be a more strategic fight or an explosive fight, it's a fight. You have a very competitive spirit and you're goal-driven. If you don't keep a goal-driven mindset, you may feel purposeless or as though you're not going after something. With Mars, you need to have an output. And you may also be somebody who's very athletic or who has done a lot of sports. I've noticed that a lot of Martian people are naturally drawn to sports because they intuitively know that they need to release that energy, that Martian energy, and express it. So I feel like a lot of the times Martian people are athletic or have a long history with sports. I've noticed that a lot of Martian people invest tons of time in doing that. As somebody that comes from Mars, you may also have a strong sense of adventure. You want to explore new things, see new things, and this could also make you prone to be a risk taker. That goes hand in hand with your impulsivity, and it's something to be mindful of. But at the end of the day, you're looking for that excitement, those thrilling experiences. Mars also rules and that can mean that a huge part of your life's journey is about coming to terms with yourself, embracing yourself, and being okay with your desires. Take a shot every time I say in this video. But yeah, it's about getting in touch with your body and your sacred self. And something about you being ruled by Mars, you ooze sexuality, so it's important for you to step into it and also establish good boundaries. Let's move on to Jupiter. If you're ruled by Jupiter, if you come from Jupiter, these are your core traits, the main life themes that you will experience and your life lessons. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. It bestows generosity and abundance on humanity. Jupiter enlarges and expands. And as somebody that comes from Jupiter, you are always in a constant state of growth and expansion. So your life mission is tied to expansion, to growth, to the expansion of the mind, of your horizons, and that can also lead you into the path of teaching. Your purpose is to expand your horizons, to seek wisdom so that you can gain a better understanding of the world, the people around you, and most importantly, yourself. Jupiter is also the visionary, always looking into the future, onto a new horizon. So you're meant to have a clear direction as far as your life, a clear sense of purpose and meaning. And it's crucial that you're clear on your vision for the future. And something that can help you with that is creating vision boards. Jupiter is also a highly spiritual planet, so there's an element of spiritual growth that colors your life. You may also tend to lead, or you would benefit from leading with wisdom and a spiritual perspective, or by looking at things from the bigger picture while still not not disregarding the details and what makes up that bigger picture. And like I said before, Jupiter is a planet that bestows generosity and abundance on humanity, as well as optimism. Those are all things that bring out positive outcomes for the most part, except for Jupiter's overindulgent side. But at the same time, this can also mean that you're meant to bring this optimism and positivity into your life and into other people's lives. Now, if you want to step more into your energy, I highly suggest being generous and having this warmth, doing things because you genuinely want to help, and that's going to help you attract abundance. As somebody ruled by Jupiter, you're meant to experience abundance, not necessarily material abundance if that's not what you want on a larger scale, but also the abundance of having loving connections into your life, expressing gratitude because you're eating a good meal, you have a good meal on your table. It's the little things like that that help you step into that Jupiterian energy. Coming from Jupiter, you're meant to be an eternal student of life. You're always learning something new, stepping into new insights, coming up with new ideas, learning new knowledge. And as somebody ruled by Jupiter, it's also important for you to be on some sort of spiritual path or religious path to add that sense of meaning and purpose into your life, whatever that means for you and however you want to do that for yourself. Jupiter relates to foreign cultures as well because it relates to the expansion of the mind and how you can broaden your horizons by relating to people who come from a completely different cultural background compared to you. So part of your life purpose does involve traveling physically or with your mind to expand your horizons. The expansion of the mind and of your physical boundaries is crucial for you. One of your main life lessons is to learn moderation. Like I mentioned before very briefly, Jupiter can be connected to overindulgence, so it's important for you to have healthy boundaries even with yourself. While expansion and growth are great, too much growth can be cancerous and actually bad. And that's also why Saturn is set into place. There's a purpose for Saturn, even though so many people fear it and are scared of it. But yeah, it's also important for you to have good boundaries and moderation in the things that you do, especially when you're caught up in new ideas and traveling. It can sort of detach you from reality, so it's important for you to still keep that sense of responsibility and to stay grounded in your present reality. Another life lesson for you is sharing your wisdom or becoming a teacher or teaching the things that you know, spreading some sort of message. Learning the value of teaching and helping people on their journey through your teachings and through the things that you have learned on your personal journey. Jupiter is also the planet of opportunities, so something that you will need to learn as a soul is discernment and learning when to jump on certain opportunities, when to take them, and when to let go of certain things or certain opportunities because they're just not aligned with what you're doing at the moment or your life journey as a whole. Just because something sounds good doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good for you. And one of the biggest challenge sometimes for people who come from Jupiter, who are Jupiterian, is cultivating optimism and gratitude. Sometimes you may be met with challenges. Sometimes life is not always easy, so you'll need to tap into that positivity and optimism while still validating your feelings and being there for yourself, but being able to see the silver lining. And most importantly, it's not just about optimism, it's about the lesson that you're learning, even in unfavorable situations, especially in those kind of predicaments. Because yeah, Jupiter after all is about the lessons learning, right? So what are you learning from specific situations, even if they're not in your favor? So it's also about taking accountability, learning that things are not happening to you. Sometimes things are happening for you, because some things are just unfair. But being ruled by Jupiter, and overall I think this can apply to any human being, no matter what planet they're ruled by, I think that taking accountability even in situations that are difficult and learning what you can do to get out of there or what you can do to improve your position, that's what the essence of Jupiter is really about. Developing a robust belief system is also important for you as somebody ruled by Jupiter. This is an essential component for the full development of your soul and of you as a person, because one of the main themes with Jupiter is the search for the personal God, for your God, for an entity, whether it be within yourself or outside of yourself, having a belief system, and also standing by your values, having a strong moral code and a code of ethics that you follow. Because don't get it twisted, Jupiter is also about justice. Faith is also a Jupiterian theme. So learning the art of manifestation and having faith in yourself, in a higher power, that's crucial. Tap into and develop that high sense of morality and integrity. Now let's get into some of your core traits being ruled by Jupiter. These are either things that you're meant to tap into, that you're growing into, or traits that you already possess. You can be somebody who's very knowledgeable and wise or well-traveled. You may always have your nose into a new book, learning something new, teaching something new. There's this thirst for knowledge and this deep desire to learn new things. You could also be quite generous and benevolent towards other people, always sharing and bestowing abundance on others, whether it be an abundance of knowledge, of love. Since Jupiter is the planet of expansion, there's an element of adventureness also to you, wanting to explore new environments, wanting to learn about new people and what's going on in the world, being socially aware. You could also tend to have a more philosophical and open-minded outlook on life, which allows you to see different perspectives and to really pick up on the nuance. And you could also find yourself in roles where you guide other people or other people come to you for advice because they naturally pick up that wisdom that you possess. And then Saturn, if you come from Saturn, if you're ruled by Saturn, these are your core characteristics, the main life lessons that you're meant to learn, and the core themes of your life. With Saturn as your chart ruler, your life mission is strongly tied to discipline, responsibility, and pursuing long-term goals and having a long-term vision. Your purpose is to build a solid and strong foundation for your life and for your future. And also to establish boundaries. A huge theme for Saturnians is establishing boundaries with people, with themselves, because boundaries can serve as part of the foundation of your life and also as part of maintaining that foundation. You're meant to embrace perseverance and to learn the value of hard work. That's sort of what your soul came here to experience, and learning how to fulfill duties and responsibilities in a timely manner, and learning the balance between not overworking yourself and still tending to your personal needs, your personal relationships. As somebody ruled by Saturn, you're meant to establish some sort of legacy for the long term, because Saturn as a planet, this is the last planet that we can see with our naked eye. This is the slowest moving planet, and it does represent everything that's long term, for the long term, that takes a long time to build up. It's also important for you to learn about the value of patience, of planning, and strategizing. Saturn can also be associated with the father, so there could be an element in your life of healing your relationship with the father figure or authority in order to step more into your energy and stepping into your inner authority as well. So like I briefly mentioned before, there's this life lesson about balancing work and your personal life. Finding a balance between managing your responsibilities and tending to your emotional needs. Something huge for you is commitment. Learning the value of commitment, committing to things and bringing them to the finish line. Learning the value of time, how to manage your time, how to structure your time, how to plan for the future. Time is associated with Saturn. Saturn rules over hardship, right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That's what Saturn is about. But it's actually the greatest malefic in astrology. So it does represent those difficulties and issues that we go through. It's part of the human experience. It's a symbol that represents those things on Earth. So a lot of the time, people who are ruled by Saturn tend to experience hardship from a very young age, or they need to take responsibility for themselves and for the people around them. From a very young age, they may tend to their family or take care of family members. They kind of miss out on their childhood sometimes, and this also applies to Saturnians, people who have Saturn ruled moons as well. That happens a lot. I've seen it a lot. So even from a very young age, you may feel burdened with these duties, even though it's really not your role to fulfill, and it's just unfair. Saturn also symbolizes the hermit, so there's a lot of focus on isolating and withdrawing. Saturn is also symbolized by the hermit, so a huge theme in your life revolves around isolation and withdrawing and getting in touch with your innermost self. Your soul may yearn for alone time so that you can pour energy back into yourself. You may be meant to become comfortable with working solo and with solitude and enjoying your own presence. That's a huge life theme for you. And coming from Saturn, you're also going to learn the importance of taking accountability and ownership for your actions and for your wrongdoings and making up for it, making reparations. Remember that Saturn is the lord of karma, so when you guys up, you are gonna feel the consequences. Saturn is like this stern teacher teaching you the lessons. There's this karmic element with Saturn to your identity, so working through karma. Since Saturn also rules over the elderly, it can be associated with wisdom and acquiring wisdom, so that could also be a life theme for you, learning and having people come to you for advice, and the way that you deliver advice may be more to the point. This is what it is, these are your options, these are the consequences. That's like your approach. It could be. And a hugely important life lesson for you being ruled by Saturn is about embracing structure and organization, learning the benefits of these two elements to achieve your goals and achieve success. You're kind of getting some of the hardest lessons compared to the other planets. Of course, that's relative to each and every single individual, but objectively speaking, you're here to reach mastery of the self. So learning about yourself, learning how to manage yourself, having control over yourself, control over your impulses, your emotions. You do need to be in touch with those parts of yourself so that they do not rule over you. Self-control helps you to stay on track and also be rewarded and reach success and maintain high levels of ambition. And this is not all that there is to life in any way, shape, or form. Self-control can also literally be about fostering relationships and not letting your impulses control you and actually avoiding damage in those relationships. But just note that success is not all that there is to it, to Saturn. It's also about wisdom, having the wisdom of knowing yourself and knowing your reactions, knowing how to prevent things. You could also become a great teacher being ruled by Saturn. Saturn does represent authority, like I've mentioned before, wisdom as well. So when you blend those two things together, I think you're one of the greatest fits for becoming a teacher, as well as, Jupiter ruled people who come from Jupiter. Here are some of your core traits as somebody who is ruled by Saturn, and these are either things that you're growing into or traits that you already possess. First and foremost, you may be somebody who's very disciplined, very self-controlled, somebody who controls their reactions and maybe breaks down in private. And you set very high standards for yourself, sometimes a little bit too high, a little bit unrealistic, and that can lead to perfectionism and dissatisfaction. So it's important for you to practice gratitude, to actually look back on your progress and tell yourself how proud you are of yourself. You may also be somebody who's very responsible and reliable, somebody that people can rely on. At times that can make you feel a little bit burdened because people come to you with different issues and things that they might want you to solve for them. But at the same time, you have great problem solving skills and it can help you navigate through life with an advantage compared to others. You may also be very, very patient and perseverant. No matter what obstacle stands in your way, you are gonna find something to help you achieve that goal and get to the finishing line. You may also be great at organizing and planning things, keeping things together, mapping out the plan, and even mapping out your goals and coming up with practical steps and strategies to reach them. You also possess a high level of emotional depth and wisdom and maturity because of the things that you have gone through. You can foresee things. You can easily guide yourself through life. And with Saturn, sometimes there can be a pessimistic streak, so it's important for you to keep yourself in check with that and develop coping mechanisms and different skills to get out of those spirals, because it can happen with being ruled by Saturn. Alright, so with that being said, that is everything that I have for you guys today. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah.